So, Pinocchio was directed by Guillermo del Toro and Mark Gustafsson, and it's another version of Pinocchio. He's a wooden boy who was carved by a man named Geppetto, and then a blue fairy comes in, gives him life, and now Pinocchio has to learn all these lessons in hopes of being a real boy. So, I was not looking forward to this movie, to be honest with you. Even though Guillermo del Toro's name was involved with it, I was just not looking forward to it. It was just, we've seen so many versions of this story. Even with the stop motion, it kind of looked interesting, and I was kind of more invested in it after seeing the Robert Zemeckis Pinocchio movie that came out this year. And after absolutely hating that movie, I was looking forward to this one a bit more. So I watched this movie, and honestly, it was a lot better than I thought it would be. I liked it for the most part. There are some things I kind of don't care for, but I'll dive into that later. So what did I like? Mainly the animation is really good. The stop motion animation, I really dug it. I thought it was really creative. It kind of has this whole thing where it definitely looks real, but you know it's clearly not real, and it's like, oh, I guess that kind of fits Pinocchio. That's kind of interesting. The visual style and the cinematography themselves are also very interesting as well. I love the color design of this movie. The score by Alexandre Desplat I thought was also really good as well. And also the voice acting is surprisingly really good as well. Gregory Mann, he's the kid who voiced Pinocchio. I thought he did a really good job. Ewan McGregor as Jiminy Cricket. He's not Jiminy Cricket exactly, but you get what I'm saying. He was really good. David Bradley was. I thought he was a little bit rough as Geppetto at first, but I kind of bought into it more and more as the movie went on. But also, Christoph Waltz, he's really good playing this eccentric person who basically tricks Pinocchio. And he's really good at playing all these like sick villains, and again, he does a really good job here. Tilda Swinton as this voice, as this like death-like character, she was also very interesting as well. And I kind of got used to it. I guess she kind of just plays characters like that, so I guess I'm just used to it at this point. And Kate Blanchett, when you find out what role she played, it actually is really funny in retrospect, and I'm surprised that she would do a role like that. So that was funny to see. And I do think the themes of this movie are a little bit interesting. This movie isn't like, it's not a traditional version of Pinocchio. It's not like the Disney version. It doesn't follow the exact same story, but it kind of has a lot of interesting themes about, about death and like what it means to live and all that. And that is an interesting twist on the Pinocchio story. I guess I just didn't expect it to kind of be as dark and as upsetting as it was, but it was definitely an interesting twist into a story that we kind of know a lot about and kind of just know it beat for beat. And also, there were some things in the Disney remake that I just did not care for whatsoever. You can go back to that review and you can see me rant about that. But there were changes in that movie that they kind of do here as well. And I feel like with this movie, they definitely did the changes a lot better. Like how Pinocchio uses his lying and how they talk about Geppetto's son in this movie, which they kind of alluded to in the other version of Pinocchio that came out this year. But here, I think it's done a little bit better. Also, moving on to what I don't really like about this movie, even though I said, oh, it's definitely very interesting, definitely a different twist on Pinocchio, I'm also just kind of glad that it just didn't follow the original movie, but it also kind of made me feel like they were just kind of throwing in stuff that maybe had nothing to do with any version of Pinocchio, and it kind of just seemed like, oh, this is the stuff that Guillermo del Toro is kind of just known for, so he'll just throw in stuff involving war, he'll throw in all his stuff, and it's definitely interesting, but I just felt it was kind of an odd choice at times. And unfortunately, even though I thought the score was great, I honestly could not really get into the songs. Now, they're not bad by any means, but I just wasn't, like, really humming along to them. I didn't look them up after watching this movie to hear them again. The one that I thought was actually really good was one done by Ewan McGregor in the end credits, where that song was really good, but unfortunately, because this movie's on Netflix, it's going to cut it out. Like, that one's actually a really good song, and it felt like, even though it was a little bit long, it felt it was still a good enough song to warrant watching the credits. And I feel like there are a couple pacing issues throughout this movie. Even it's like a little bit longer than the other Pinocchio movie, but I can feel the length at times. And also that mainly because they kind of just repeats itself at times. Where I won't spoil it by any means, but there's this whole sequence that is unlike any Pinocchio movie you've seen beforehand, but they kind of just repeat itself over and over again. And I just I didn't get annoyed with it, but I felt like they should have done something different every once in a while. But no, it's just kind of the same thing over and over again. So this version of Pinocchio, if you're going to watch one of the Pinocchio movies that came out this year, this is the only one you need to watch. You don't need to watch the Disney remake. You don't need to watch the one with Pauly Shore. You just need to see this one, even though it's vastly different than any other version out there before. The animation's really good. The voice acting's really good. The production values, for the most part, are astonishing. Even though I kind of have problems with the script itself, and maybe the songs aren't as catchy as I would like them to be, I still think it's worth watching, especially if you're looking for something different. It's definitely worth. If you're a fan of stop motion, definitely see this movie. So I will give this version of Pinocchio 3 out of 4 stars. See it. So I don't know, what's your favorite stop motion movie, or what's your favorite Guillermo del Toro movie? Comment down below, subscribe to the channel. This is Pat. Stay safe.